Ladies and gentlemen, today is Buddha's teaching day. 2,936 years ago, Buddha Shakyamuni taught Dharma in Varanasi. 5 human beings and 84,000 gods. And I really happy to requesting teach Dharma my students. And because a lot of people think that only teacher need teach Dharma, most people should not say anything about Dharma. That is not right. So everybody should share each other, should talk Dharma each other, so then better understand one teacher teach Dharma. So please, Rabbi, teach Dharma. Today is the best time to teach.
Thank you, Kempo. Today, on the anniversary of Buddha Shakyamuni's first turning of the wheel of Dharma, I would like to teach on the science of true happiness. In the world today, we look and see all around us different types of ways that people try to experience happiness. Some means are successful, some means are not, but we all have one thing in common. We'd like to know what it is that makes us happy. You see examples of people who will consider happiness like going to a party, and for them that looks like fun. So they go to the party, maybe they have something to drink, maybe it's fun and maybe it's not, but this isn't really what we would call true happiness. You can test happiness, and there's an exact definition to whether something is true happiness, and there's a test that you can make to discover whether or not it's true happiness or not. So first, let's start with small happiness, like the person going to the party. It isn't that there's anything wrong or negative about going to a party, but if you experience that, maybe you have a little too much to drink, maybe you wake up in the morning with a hangover, maybe you're late for work, maybe you end up finding out that now you've lost your job. So what looked in the beginning like happiness, in the end turned out to be suffering. So there's one thing in common that all people have. All beings want happiness. No beings want to suffer. But in the science of happiness, it's more than just wanting happiness. It's understanding what things create happiness, and the result of that action, thought, or deed is happiness, or the result of it is suffering. So we looked at the example of the party. Maybe we take another example and we look at it and see how it fits into the science of true happiness. Suppose you get a letter in the mail or a phone call and you've just won the lottery for $50 million. Is this a reason to be happy? I think I would probably be happy. But depending on what I do with that, how I respond to that, would determine whether or not it ended up causing me suffering or it ended up causing me happiness. In all of the things that we do, there are several types of happiness. There is happiness in rejoicing. An example of happiness in rejoicing, we watch the news. We see what happens in our daily life. And you've all heard a story of a small child that narrowly escapes a disaster and is completely safe. Is completely saved from that danger. And in that moment that you understand, you feel the compassion towards that child and the rejoicing happiness that this turned out where there was no suffering involved. This brings us to the definition of the science of true happiness. First we start with the science of happiness, then we take it to true happiness. So in happiness, if you have happiness as the beginning, and the result of that thought, word, or action is happiness, and happiness not just for you, but for all beings, then this fills the criteria of true happiness. Now, the exact definition of true happiness would be zero negative thinking and zero negative karma. So, in each situation, we ask ourselves, okay, what event, what actions can I do which will produce happiness? And what actions will I do that will produce suffering. Now, if you take knowledge, I want happiness, and experience, I think this fire is hot, if I put my hand over the fire, I'll gain wisdom. I'll realize that that won't give me happiness. So wisdom is the result of knowledge and experience applied in a way that creates happiness, not suffering. Now, there are a lot of situations in life where we can look at happiness and ask ourselves, how do I do this? How do I have this intention? How do I create this? And the answer is always the same. Will it end up causing suffering for myself or others? Will it end up causing happiness for myself or others? This basic science of happiness has a very long history. In fact, about 3,000 years ago, there was a prince. And this prince perfected true happiness. This perfection of true happiness has a name. It was called vast awakening. And in the language of that time, Sanskrit, vast awakening was pronounced Buddha. A person that had perfected true happiness became Buddha and began the teachings which we now practice today. And in these teachings, we call these teachings today Buddhism. If you'd like to learn more about Buddhism, you can find us on the web at www.dzogchenlineage.org. You can find out about more that you can practice true happiness in your life and experience what true happiness really means. Thank you, and thank you, Khenpo.